The Brothers Wisp. The Brothers Wisp, Brothers Wisp. The Brothers Wisp. The Brothers.
You're now listening to Greg. It's the Brothers Wisp.
Hey there, everybody. This is Tommy with the Brothers Wisp. Episode 176, baby. I think these numbers are nope, these haven't increased in forever. So what the heck am I supposed to? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 184, probably.
Maybe.
Somewhere in there. Joining me over here is Dennis with Link Text, and let's see. Let's get the potatoes out, and then we can get to the meat of the fun. Brothers Wisp is brought to you by Sonar, a scalable, intuitive, and comprehensive ISP billing and operational support system. Learn more at sonar.software. Tower coverage. Tower coverage is your RF propagation system to actually, you know what, Dennis, what is your one-line awesomeness about tower coverage?
Oh, I think your one line is so well developed that I don't even remember it. So, to be honest with you.
Tower coverage is your RF propagation system to empower your network. Real-time metrics enable your coverage area, reaching your customer base and more. The industry's best RF propagation mapping system allows website integration for customer signup and pre-qualification. Use this data to scientifically plan network expansion and help your WISP succeed. Get a free trial today at towercoverage.com. So besides some slight grammatical stuff that always bugs me a little bit, any changes you want to make to that?
No, it's actually it actually really sums it up. We are doing the BDC stuff now, so that's always important. But we still have our address list feature. It is up and running, so everything else is really good on it. Just keep going.
As I recall seeing, and correct me if this has changed, but last I remember is that you had said that you would redo people's BDC filing for them if they had already done it before the FCC screwed up and told everyone they had to redo it.
Yeah, basically, what in all the grand scheme of things, the fabric data is not like horrible. I think we've seen like less than 2 to 3% change in most of those customers. But basically, if you ordered prior to when they re-released their new fabric data, all you have to do is re-upload your fabric data, let us know, just send the email to support@towercoverage.com, tell us your order number, etc., and we'll just simply reprocess that job for you totally for free. So that way, all of our customers are taken care of. There's no additional cost to you guys. We really try to make it inexpensive, and like right now, I mean, the BDC stuff, we're doing it for like $650. Obviously there's some limitations in there, how many maps and stuff like that, but in general, for a general WISP, $650 is pretty dang cheap to get it done.
Yeah, and then it's done, and you don't have to think about it, and you submit it, and life's good. Yep. And you get like you're covering goofy stuff like this. I know a lot of people who have like people on staff for doing that, and then now that staff person, because they were so industrious and got it done early, now they have to redo it. And so any other projects you had them on, that's money out the window you just lost. So yeah, it's a bummer, but super cool, and I really appreciate that you're doing that for your customers. That's a sign of that we care about the industry, and that's what we do.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Preseam. Get a single pane of glass view of your network with Preseam's trusted QoE solution. Using active queue management, Preseam is a set it and forget it tool that lets you manage your network proactively without any complicated rules or geek knobs. With Preseam, you also get exclusive RF scores and analytics that show you the health of your network across all subscribers, access technologies, and vendors. Premium QoE, precise data, Preseam. And last but far from least, Villo, a complete mesh Wi-Fi hardware and remote management solution that empowers WISPs of any size to delight your customers, reduce your operating costs, and grow your business. Designed with input and feedback from the ISP community, Villo is proud to be a trusted partner of over 150 ISPs around the world. And I can guarantee you, I see way more than that of people who have actively commented in their group running Villo. So they are growing, they are getting busy. And I see them doing a lot of bug fix stuff, which is pretty cool. Yeah, there's bugs. So, but like everybody has bugs. So Ubiquity, Cambium.
It's all about how you work on that or how you respond to that. So
yeah. And that's is like the business response to issues is really the qualification in my mind about what makes a good business. Like, yes, if you have a lot of issues, there's something to be said about that, even if you have a great support team to work on those issues, but you really working on that. But before we started the cast, we were talking about where we started in life. And you got your start off in Radio Shack. What?
Yeah, I was one of those kids that would my mother would drop me off at Radio Shack, and I'd kind of wander about for like an hour and just look around and such. And I very much Radio Shack was such a big thing. Every year we'd get the catalog, and I love just sitting there looking at that catalog, looking at all the stuff and the products they have. And once I got to Radio Shack, believe it or not, Radio Shack actually had a thing called Radio Shack Express that was these 6 3-inch binders full of stuff that we could ship straight to the customer house. I mean, literally, PlayStation 1s and all the games that was available, but we couldn't put them in the stores for licensing reasons, but we could order it for you. Okay. You want some, if you want like a Serwin Vega sub with 418s, we can ship that to you. I mean, just the amount of stuff that was in those books was really, really stupid. And every once in a while we get an odd like phone battery, like cordless phone battery, that had a weird connector. And guess what? I've never had a battery that was not in that either we did not have in stock or we couldn't order for the customer direct to their house. So really, really cool stuff whenever you get into it. Unfortunately, obviously Radio Shack is kind of defunct now. But interesting side note, when we got our initial allocation, so when Link Technologies got our initial Aaron allocation, we ended up getting a /24 from the old Tandy Corp company. And I was like, there's no way, because I log in and whenever we do a Whois, it says Tandy Corp. It was part of they had like a /18 or something at one point in time, but that was just another little oddball thing that no one would probably believe me if I ever told them that.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, that was actually how I ended up getting my first like real job, where I got a W-2. I was dropped off at Office Depot, and I
worked there too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And Office Max. No. Actually, Office Depot wasn't horrible. Office Max kind of, I won't say it there and say what it was, but Office Depot was not horrible.
Well, 2720 was my store number. We were number 1 store in let's see here, that would have been 2010 in the entire nation for like all the metrics. So I was able to participate in that, kicking the butt of the entire nation. So it was a pretty good experience. They paid me, paycheck always cashed on Friday, so I couldn't complain about that.
Yeah.
But then I wandered off to the far nether regions of the world and did not have a job for multiple years, a real job. What did you do after Radio Shack?
Oh, so one day I was working at Radio Shack, and a guy named Scott came in, and he said, "Hey, I need some Cat 5 ends." I'm like, "Yeah, sure, not a problem. Here you go." And I knew exactly what they were, where they were, grabbed them for him. He's like, you know what a Cat 5 end is? I'm like, yeah, I'm actually going to, I was actually doing college while I was working at Radio Shack. And that led me, him giving me his card. I gave him a call, and within a few weeks, I was working for him at a consulting company. We basically did mostly Novell NetWare servers, a lot of law offices, small manufacturing plants, that type of stuff. Very limited wireless, because that was back in 98 or something like that. Wi-Fi was kind of out there, but not really. There was no broadband. It was mostly just computers that had modems, and they would dial in. So we had the 10 base T hubs. Oh yeah, or the BNC networks. We had a number of law offices with the BNC networks, which was horrible. But yeah, so that's
So was that a token ring, or was that BNC Ethernet?
BNC. I think it was BNC Ethernet.
Okay,
But
so
I could be wrong on that. Dude, it's been so long since. I mean, that stuff had like speeds of like 4 meg, and it was not fast, But I mean, most of these businesses had like 8 machines or 10 machines. I do remember a LaserJet 3 printer that they only had that one printer because it was too dang expensive to buy multiple of them, and that thing had 1.8 million pages on it, and they had it serviced religiously. It was amazing that thing was still chugging along.
1.8 million.
Yeah, it was absolutely stupid, the number on it.
How that's impressive.
Yes, I mean, and they had it already for 10 years or something like that. Whenever I was there, once I identified this printer as, hey, everybody's printing to this printer. I mean, it would just all day long, it would just be chucking out pages for every department they had, because that was the only printer they had. So, but I mean, otherwise, it was some of those companies are still in business. Most of them are not.
Yeah,
normal stuff there.
Yeah, flopping around, moving through stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how many? So, what did you see that made you like want to stick with a company or move between companies?
Oh, honestly, it was probably mostly the money. Every time I moved, I definitely got a little bit more. And we're not talking a lot, but sometimes the companies would become stagnant. So, like the first company, they kind of became stagnant, and they're like, well, we don't like, you don't like to drive all the way up to North City, and I'm like, well, I don't, just to change a goddamn tape in a tape drive. I mean, that just seems ridiculous. You'd think somebody there could do that. Not to mention it saves them money, and it saves everybody money. But then again, thinking back on that now, it probably would have been advantageous for me to take an hour drive to North County, change the tape, take an hour drive back, bill the customer for 2 hours for changing a tape, and just call it done. Now the only issue though is I didn't earn any type of commission on those billable hours, and also I was salaried. So of course it's 4 p.m. when they're asking me to go change a tape. So I know I'm not going to get back home, especially that's right around rush hour. It's going to take me an hour and a half probably to get there or more, and then it's probably going to take me another hour and a half to get back. So, it just cuts into my what I would call my evening time. But again, it was it happens. But typically funding, the company atmosphere is always important, and especially now, the company atmosphere is really, really important. And something I would tell again, depending on your size, it depends on what you can do, but something that we do, we have quite a few number of employees, but we basically say, hey, we're going to all go down on a float trip on the Missouri River. It's a 5-mile trip. We'll pay for everything. We'll pay for food, and we'll pay for the trip. And you can bring a spouse, or you can bring a significant other. So, now we have, 40, 50 people going, and, believe it or not, man, that's really good team building stuff. Of course, they'll bring, they bring their own alcohol. We provided some, Gatorades and water and such. Perfectly fine. We had a great time, and that's one of those little things that you can do that would really benefit the company if that's something you can do and get everybody out on.
Hmm.
But there's Top Golf. Just pay for 3 hours of Top Golf. Just say, come, eat, drink, and be merry. We'll order food. We'll order drinks. Everybody's happy. And those types of things are kind of some of the things that I really remember. One company I was with, they actually rented condos out at a resort that we had a big party. It was a holiday. This was the holiday party, but we did the big holiday party there. Then we stayed there for the weekend and stuff like that. And that was also really nice as well. So, you know, does it cost money? The answer is yes. Do you get benefits from it? Oh yeah, definitely.
So I've worked at a couple different companies that had like various things that they would do, and sometimes I enjoyed it, but a lot of the, like back when I worked at Office Depot, there was like the office, we had like a Christmas party or whatever. And I remember doing that and being like, you're ordering pizza, I can't eat pizza. Like I'm here, I'm being forced, I'm told that I'm supposed to be here and I don't want to be here. There's no food for me. I'm sick and tired of being around you people. Like I'm here for like 20-30 hours in the last few days. I don't want to be around you anymore. I want to go home. And
well, yeah, and see, that depends on labor laws there, because if they say you have to be there, then you should clock in.
yeah.
So in Missouri, that's the way it would be. But again, where you are, it may not. The answer is, in our case, it's always optional. We do have some people that we did the float trip last year, and we had a number of people that they didn't come. This year, a couple of extra people came, which normally we don't get to see too terribly much, and they had a really good time. So again, it's we make it optional, but we also sit there and make sure that we say, hey, this is not a cash out event. There are some states, I'm not going to name anything about California or anything, but where if you offer something to one employee or a group of employees, you have to offer it to all the employees and or cash value.
Huh.
So again, you just need to make sure you know the laws in your state and stuff like that, and just run it through your HR department and such. But in our case, yes, the tickets, I don't know, it's like $150 for a 4-person raft. So do the math on that. It's not a whole lot of cash. And the goal is, we really want you to come. So if you don't come, no, we're not going to give you your $38 in cash. Okay. It's a benefit. It's a benefit if you choose it to be a benefit. So
yeah,
it's just like your 401k. If you do matching on that, that's a benefit. If you don't put anything in, then guess what? You don't get the any matching that you don't put in on. So again, it is a benefit, but you need to make sure you set your expectations with your employees as well. So, but it's a lot of little things. We actually have lunch either delivered, or we make lunch every Friday. It doesn't cost that much to make lunch. Toss some burgers. And this actually comes back from my father. He was actually the senior electrical inspector for the county, and he also built custom spec homes. So he basically built a home roughly a year. And one of the things he instilled in me was, always treat your subcontractors with one, respect, as well as give them something unexpected, and they're going to do that much better of a job for you. So one day I showed up whenever we were building my house. I had 20 nice 1-inch thick cut pork chops, and I showed up with a grill, and I started grilling. And I'm like, hey, lunch is going to be ready in about 20 minutes. Dude, you would not believe how quick those guys, one, ran over, and two, actually said, thank you very much, this is really nice. Little things, just grill some hamburgers, grill some brats, just something like that really can go a long way.
Yeah. So similar story. I had my roof replaced a couple weeks ago, and it was baking hot. And they picked the worst like 2 days. Well, like we hit 100 degrees, and plus with all of our crazy humidity, I was like, I felt so bad for those guys. And so the first day they were out there. I'm like, dudes, here, I got them Gatorade and beer, because I was like, I know these guys. It's the end of the day, they need a beer.
Oh
And
yeah,
yeah, they loved it. I got to practice my Spanish a bit. Well, hey, come on, and
I understand. I
yeah,
understand.
but they're all from Honduras. Fun guys to chat with a bit, and yeah, my lawn was really clean. Neighbor's lawn, who had the same guys, wasn't as clean.
I had you mentioned roofers. At my old house, I had a new roof put on, and they get there at 6 a.m. because they want to start early, and it was a nice
Mhm.
day. And they get there, and there's smoke coming out of my backyard, and they kind of hop around back, and they're like, "What's going on back here?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm making a pork loin for you guys for lunch." And they're like, "What?" Yeah, yeah. So about lunchtime comes, I'm like, "Hey, you guys hungry?" And this one guy looks at me, and he starts cussing at me. And he's like, "You don't know how freaking bad it is to just be working up here while smelling what comes out of that grill down there." He goes, I'm not going to be worth nothing after I get done eating." So, again, little things, man, but man, they actually took care of me on. I had 40 something sheets of plywood had to be replaced, and they gave
Oof.
that all it cost to me. So, it wasn't as high as it is now. Obviously, that was probably 15 years ago, but still, I mean, little things matter, you know?
Yeah. Yep. Little things matter. Well, so speaking of little things, Ubiquity is coming back to Wispapalooza.
Yeah, I seen that. I don't know. I don't believe that I don't know if they're exhibiting.
That's what I'm curious about. So there's no booths. Last I checked, which was a couple days ago, there's no booths marked off for Ubiquity. There are some people were noting that there's some booths marked off as special use or something. So maybe there's some sort of surprise, like they're breaking out across a few different booths. It's definitely not going to be like one of the big like the 2019 show, I want to say.
Yeah, where they
Like,
have that huge thing. Yeah.
yeah, they had the huge booth, but cool to see them back. I mean, I was bummed out to see them uh pull out, and it's like, well, do you actually like? There's a lot of guys who spent millions and millions of dollars with you. Like, what the hey? Are you really backing out of this now? Like, so yeah, that's cool. And I think some of it's like they have a really successful product with the Wave system. I've been hearing a lot of people have been using that and have a pretty substantial user bases on Wave. Um, I haven't worked with it personally. You?
No. We've done a few of them, but the problem is, uh, and I'm just going to make sure that's the 60 gigahertz stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, the big bad and ugly on that, and I have seen it multiple times firsthand, is you're using everybody's roofs to retransmit.
Mm-hmm.
And if you if you just do a handshake deal, it's going to come back to bite you in the butt. And it's not when, it's not if it's going to happen, it's just when. And we have one customer, they're doing a very heavy deployment of the CN wave, the CN wave, yeah, the
Yep.
CN pilot, yeah, the 60 gigahertz teragraph
Oh.
stuff for I don't know what the heck it's called, but see why we should have a Cambium guy here.
Yeah.
But at any which rate, they have their 60 gigahertz products and such, and they have this big, huge mesh network thing, and all of a sudden you get a customer calls up, "Hey, I don't want it on my roof anymore," and now maybe that's a key broadcast site for you to 8 other roofs, and now you have a hole in the net that you can't fill. And I actually see that quite often, unfortunately, with a number of those. It does work, and it's really cool stuff. It's just it's definitely that millimeter wave stuff is just really, really short range. We actually have a number of customers. I'm going to go back to both your fiber deployment where they run 10 gig. They run 25 or 24 strand fiber down telephone poles. They get a very specific power, 110 power. They put a box in, a battery backup. They put a 2-port 10 gig switch with like 8 PoE outs, and they put up 3 of the Microtech 60 gigahertz APs. And now they say basically if you can see it within roughly a half mile or something like that, it'll work. Now the difference is that is being fed by fiber, and they then go 3 or 4 telephone poles, basically a half mile away, and then guess what? They do the same setup again.
Yep, rinse and repeat.
Right, and that actually works out really well for them because they actually have all the fiber, they have lots of bandwidth, they have lots of capacity, and if they ever, and they don't have any issues with customers supplying the tower sites, or in this case, the rooftops. So I would always mention that because that's just I don't know, it is a way you could have a way out with other customers and other subscribers, but I've just seen too many times where now we have 10 customers that we can't get on, and they're out there knocking on doors trying to find a customer between the two, trying to get them to mesh to connect to the mesh. So it's neat. It does work. Is it awesome? Again, I would recommend you having something in your lease or something in the pricing that says, hey, this is a mesh network, it's a community network, etc. Once it's on your house, it's permanently installed for the next 5 years. And if you want to sell, guess what? You can sell. But the new homeowner needs to be aware that this is going to stay on the house, and they will have to pay for internet, or maybe not. Maybe they don't have to pay for internet, but they do have to supply power.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I was just going to run back to kind of another little package that we've been offering. You were mentioning Villo.
Oh yeah.
We actually teamed up with Remote Windbox, and we actually have our own installation of Remote Windbox. So it's rwb.linktext.net. And basically what we offer is we offer a remote management package for Microtechs. Okay, basically using the same interface that Remote Windbox is known for. We actually have some packages on our website that is a CRS 328 20S switch. It comes, so you have 24 SFP cages. It comes with 48 SFPs, and these are not WDM, but you can get WDM SFPs if you want. It comes with 24 RB FTC 11s, which I don't know if you've seen the WAP APs.
Yep.
Same exact enclosure, so it's all weatherproof, but basically it is a PoE powered copper to fiber converter.
Yep.
So what's real nice is you can bring the fiber up outside, plug it into this box, leave it outside, and then we also supply a HAP AX squared. So now that provides power to our fiber converter. You have now have a HAP AX, which is a Wi-Fi 6 router, which has 4 copper ports, 5 gig, 2.4, all integrated. And then you can, if you want to, you can use a Remote Windbox and mesh it all. And by the time you're all said and done, you're right at about $200 a port all in, other than your fiber installation cost. And I know when we look at other manufacturers, they're up in the $500 to $600 per customer per port and per port equipment range, and we're down in the very low too, so like 200, 205. So just as another option, we have quite a few customers doing that. I have had some customers using, and I'm not going to speak badly about the manufacturer, using a very well-known brand that using their OLTs, and in the heat of the summer they are failing.
Yeah, no, I've heard of that issue quite a lot. I'm Dennis, in my heart of hearts, I'm not a I'm not above bashing Ubiquity.
I'm not bashing them. I mean, it's just
Yeah,
sometimes they come back online when it cools, but more times than not, it's just fried.
yeah, and that's the issue is they they don't have an outdoor ONT.
Yeah.
And so there's plenty of people who've used them outdoors, but you're running such a crazy risk. It just seems insane to me
Well,
to try.
so
Do that.
most of our fiber to the home customers, most of them are actually deploying active Ethernet. It's just for them, it's just cheaper to give everybody 100 meg or gig. Their own strand. They usually do use WDM, so they run their own strand back from the switching wherever the switches are and such. But now you have full capacity, and guess what? If the customer wants to go to 10 gig, you take them a 4011, or you take them something that can handle 10 gig, maybe a 5009 or something, and then you just go into the cabinet and move their cable from a 1 gig port to a 10 gig port.
Yeah,
Done.
well, that's kind of what we built on. We didn't use we didn't do WDM. We just ran a
Two
boatload
strands,
of fibers out of
yeah.
well, single strand actually. We did bidioptics.
Okay,
So that ate up half as many strands at least. But so yeah, we did that single strand per customer, and it worked really well. We were using the same switches, the MikroTik switches, the CRS 326s, and you get 24 ports of up to 10 gig Ethernet on that. And then before that, we were using some FiberStore switches that were 48 port 1 gig, and then they had four or six. I think they had 6 10 gig ports at the end, so they were like something 54 ports.
Yeah.
And I liked that.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit there and say that MikroTik has all the solutions. I could sit there and tell you that hey, MikroTik may be coming out with a 48 port one gig optical switch with 100 gig uplinks on it.
Oh God, if they are doing that, don't tempt me.
I can't sit there and tell you that because I'm under NDA with them. So but again, I don't know. I can't sit there and tell you that's what I would wish them to come out with. I also have a couple other wonderful wish. I would love to see other products. And whenever we look at the 328s, the 48 port copper units, they already have a pair of, they have 4 10 gigs, I believe, and 2 40 gigs on them. So it's not inconceivable. They have the bandwidth, they have the switches, they have everything they need to do that, other than putting in the SFPs. And we were actually talking, it would be even cooler if they actually made individual BiDi ports on it instead of actually putting SFPs in it, putting individual BiDi ports on it.
I don't know. It seems like to me that maybe it's because I've always run FiberStore or various other stuff, but it seems to me like I like it that the SFP is changeable, because then like if
there's
breaks,
pluses and minuses to both.
What would be your pluses to having it built in?
You could probably put like 96 ports on them.
That's true. Yeah.
You can now you only have just the one strand of fiber. So you just plug in an LC connector. Think about how many in that space of 48 copper ports. Think about how many LC connectors could you actually fit on that?
Yeah,
a lot.
Just look at the FiberStore pages.
Yeah.
How many ports can you get in one U? Yeah, right. That's true.
But those the other issue on top of that is that's going to be a power hog. And it won't be a power hog if you turn off the ports, but once you get all the ports full, it's going to be eating up some power.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same way with if you have 48 SFPs, it's going to eat up a lot of power. But there's pluses and minuses both ways. You can buy SFPs inexpensively, but then when you look at something with bidioptics, you're looking at $2,000, and they're like, well, why am I going to pay $2,000? Well, if you buy it with SFPs and then you populate it with BiDis, guess what? It's probably going to cost you about the same. I don't know. Just I definitely know some people that would be really interested in buying, some higher capacity gear. However, I do know other people that they actually like using the 24 port units because they actually have, 6 or 7 switches in their rack, and they don't feed each switch. They don't feed they don't come into the top switch and then loop down to each other. They
Mhm.
simply do a 10 gig home run back to their core router.
Okay. Yeah. And
So
so then if you have a failure,
if you have
max
a
number of
failure, it's only
customers
on
is 24.
24, right?
Yeah.
And then swapping it out is relatively simple too, because now you don't, think about if you had, 96 ports, so you're gonna have to plug back in. Eek, that's gonna
Yeah.
take a little time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hope you
That's
have
what
cable management going.
yeah, good cable management is super critical.
Yep.
And that was actually the power eating factor was the big factor in my math when we were looking at doing active E versus GPON, and even now with XGPON, you would be at once you start hitting scale of a couple hundreds of customers, the power utilization of active E is going to quickly outstrip GPON or XGPON, and then you're just gonna look at like, well, okay, now you're spending more per year by definition just in your power bill, and
Mhm.
power ain't cheap or free, and it
Yeah.
depends on where you're at. So, but it can be just a couple bucks or several hundreds of dollars,
Yeah.
very quickly. So yeah, it's a math and it's the equations, and you really need to just decide on how you want to approach that and make those decisions. But I really think that's really cool. I will continue to be sad that you didn't use the G Pen 21. I love that little box. It's just because it's manageable, and I can see light levels on it. It makes life easy, but I can see also like it's not as cheap as it used to be. It used to be cheaper than the that copper to Ethernet converter.
Yeah, I mean, well, they're actually the same price, but the G Pen 21 is not weatherproof.
Nope.
So, whenever I sit there and I think about it, I'm like, how can I go and test a customer? Let's say a customer calls me up and says, "Hey, I'm not getting the speeds I need." Well, all I have to do is go outside, unscrew a security screw, which is not complicated to get off, but unscrew it, unplug their power, plug something in. I have my laptop. I probably have a USB to PoE out converter on it anyway. Plug it in, power up the unit. Now I'm dedicated. I'm the only connected computer on that network, and I'm not even inside yet.
Yeah. So this actually I hadn't seen this before at the last Wispapalooza. I think it's a Mikotech or something where they were giving them out as like, oh hey, thanks for visiting our booth deal. But it's a USB PoE port, and I love that little thing. Like I do have to be a little careful about what I plug it into. I can't plug it into anything big, but it'll power basically anything, a little Microtech or whatever, and it would be perfect in that situation. Then yeah, you would connect it up. Do I have internet? Yep. What's my speed? Great. Boom. Done.
Yeah, we actually have. I'm trying to remember the brand. I cannot think of it. I think they're Pack Wireless. I mean, Pack Wireless has been out there forever. I think they're still out there anyway. But they literally have a little. It's a little 24i. So it's a 24-volt PoE out that has a little cable, Ethernet cable that comes in, plugs in, and then you just plug the USB cable to your laptop and it powers it. So nifty little box, but we did have them as far as I know we do.
Yeah. Yeah. USB is meant to supply some amount of power, and now with USB 3, you can do a significant amount of power. They're actually I will admit I am one of those sinners who watches Linus Tech Tips.
Hey, I watch him too. I watch he does some stupid stuff.
Yeah. Well, he maxed out the number of USB devices that he could plug into a computer.
Yeah, I seen
and
that one.
that was just funny. I was just like,
I'm like, what's the point? I guess whatever.
it was fun learning a little bit about the protocol. I'm not certain if I really learned a lot, but it's like, oh well, this is where it breaks. This is cool.
Right. Yep.
I hope I never have that many USB devices.
I understand.
But I mean, right now I'm like, what? See, monitor, this, that. eight devices. So
I got like two, three,
so
three. I'm sorry, I have three.
oh well, let's see here. What other fun news has hit the markets recently? Um Microtik's got some new videos out. They have a video about teaching people how to do BGP. If you don't know how to do BGP on Microtik, it's good to check out. I guess I actually learned, Dennis, would you like to know what the most stolen AS number is? Like so in somebody's path, they're saying, "Hey, I have this ASN in my path."
I have no idea.
2.
Two.
AS2. Yep.
Why is it quick to type?
Well, actually, it's because many manufacturers have different ways of prepending your AS number, and sometimes whatever the dish, like what everyone learns on Cisco, and so then they do the Cisco way in some other manufacturer, and this what everyone's presuming is that it happens that 2, they just put 2 in and it just prepends 2 on it instead of prepending twice, and nobody ever goes to double check to make certain, hey, what am I announcing out to the world? Oh, there's 2 in there. Why is there 2? I don't have an AS2. I'm not connected to that guy. I don't remember who AS2 is, but off the top of my head, but that was on the Nanog mailing list. I was like, oh, that's actually funny.
Okay.
Fun
As long,
fact.
yeah. Yeah. And you remember, this was many years ago. We had a whole bunch of routers, Cisco routers, actually crashed in Europe because of the way the AS number was entered.
Yeah, it was Microtik was the guy.
Well,
He entered his AS number
yeah.
in how many times it was supposed to be prepended.
Well, it was, yeah. He entered his AS number in the field that should be like, I want to prepend 3 times. Instead of putting 3, he put his AS number. Microtek then converted the AS number, since it was too large, to 255, which is part of the BGP standard, what you should be able to do. The problem is Cisco never thought that they would actually do that, and that basically broke Cisco's.
Yes.
So yeah, it's definitely an interesting story. So anyway, let's see here. I'm just trying to think of what else. Yeah, Ubiquity's coming. Well, they're sponsoring. Whether or not they're coming or not's a whole nother question. You have to look at the registration and see what they say.
Yeah.
We have, let's see here. I guess I can go back to the BDC stuff. That's coming to a rapid close already. If you haven't done it, you need to do it. Get with a reputable company and get it done. You really need to get that done. Cannot sit there and tell you the importance of that. I'm just trying to think of anything else that's newsworthy.
I'm trying to think. I was putting stuff together, and then this weekend just turned into oh hey, just a bit of a mess, and so I was just like, well, it better to do a show and not have much to talk about. People complaining about various vendors. They always do that. Adam Schaefer, he's trying to do his like ISP for sale. Like, hey, we'll be your router for you, is what he seems to be doing.
Oh yeah, basically what they're doing is they have routers in the data center. They're going to build what they call your core, and then they will pass IPs and bandwidth to you over that over tunnels. So all you have to do is go out and get a cable modem or something like that. Now you can use all the IPs that you're allocated, which does make perfect reasonable sense. But to be honest with you, anybody can do that. It's not really complicated to do that. Now they are bundling it with some other stuff, and they're making some other options and stuff like that. So that's always a good thing as well. Microtek, going back to Microtek, we do have, let's see here. man, they're just releasing LTE, LTE, LTE. And I do use LTE with Microtech. We have it working, it works fine with Verizon. They do have a Cat 18 router now.
How does that work?
They're just LTE. So like what we do is we just get a Verizon SIM.
Oh, okay, yeah,
And
you
you
just
just
connect
shove
them
it in there.
too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they have their LTE radios
Yeah, I mean,
for
and keep in mind in
broadcast.
Europe, LTE is it. I mean, they have so much coverage and so much bandwidth at the cell sites now that, man, I mean, WISPs, I don't even know, there's not many of them over there unless you're out in the middle of the sticks. So, but yeah, they definitely have, like, they have their HAP AX Lite LTE 6 now,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. I'm just looking to see what else they have that, um, you know, would be cool. They have their Chateau LTE 18, which is a LTE 18 modem. I do know for a fact, and this is what's scary, in Latvia, they're using the LTE 18. It's an LTE 18 8AX radio,
Mm-hmm.
and it has 2.5 gigabit Ethernet, and they are getting 2+ gigabit on LTE.
With channel bonding.
Oh yeah, I mean keep in mind this is a category 18 modem, so absolutely stupidly fast. The amount of capabilities that's in it compared to most of their modems are LTE 6 or category 6, which you can get 100, 150 meg out of that inside the United States, depending on how busy they are. But
So,
just
what's the difference between the 18 and the 6? I'm not super familiar.
to be honest with you, I'd have to look it up. Yeah, basically the cat is basically newer generations are newer cat,
Okay.
if that makes sense. And they add LTE functionality, so it's probably 5G, so it probably has extra bands, etc.
Okay.
Maybe it can do more channel bonding instead of doing, like, the LTE 6 can bond 2 channels, and they can be up to 10 megahertz each. I'm sure the LTE 18 probably does a heck of a lot more. So cat 18, cat 8. I can't even type today. Cat 18 versus cat 6, and they have cat 20 devices out there as well.
Oof.
So, I mean, a cat. This is not the right page for that.
Well, while you're looking up,
Oh yeah, you got
when were you guys?
four
Oh,
by
yep.
four 4x4 Mimo is one of the major ones. In
On the
that,
client side?
yeah, on the client side.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, that would be that would give you lots of opportunities to do cool stuff.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And so a cat. Here you go. A cat. Come on, webpage. So a cat 6. The max down is 300 meg, and max up is 50. Well, cat 18. You can get 300 up and up to 1200 down. And they also have cat 20 and 22 modems. Microtech does not have those yet, not that I know of. But those go. Cat 22 does 4 gigabit. So now keep in mind these are, uh, you know, it all depends if the cell provider provides it. But Cat 18 modem supports more frequency bands than lower categories, more antennas, supports 4x4 MIMO, more than capable of handling multiple up users simultaneously. Again, just bigger, badder, better.
That's awesome.
So,
Well, when are you guys going to be carrying the new outdoor 5009?
we already had them.
You already had them?
Yeah,
It's already sold. Sold out.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain that those things sold like freaking hotcakes because with the number of people who were using the PowerBox Pro,
we already sold over 800 of them.
yeah, I'm not surprised.
We have more on order, but I don't see it does not list it. Let me first, I'd have to get in a whole other system, which I don't have the
That's
time
fine.
to get into at this point in time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the 5009 UPR plus. Yeah, that's for what it is, it actually works really dang good. Um, you know, it is AT and AF compatible. We have used some of the lard or layered PoE combiners on those to get the high power PoE out on them.
Oh, okay. So
So
then it like takes PoE from multiple ports.
so you take two PoE out ports that are AT capable. Okay, so there's 30 watts each, and it basically combines it into a 60-watt high power four pair PoE out port. The data portion is only pulled from one port, but
Okay.
the power is pulled from two.
Okay. Interesting. Huh.
So those things are like $18 or something. I don't have to Google it again,
Yeah,
but they're not
that's
horrible.
cool. I guess I would never have been like, oh yeah, but I guess with Laird, I'd trust them to make something reasonably decent.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's cool. So yeah, that would be big enough to power a lot of the 60
Pre-
gigahertz stuff.
yeah, pretty much anything other than pretty much anything other than the new BT standard.
Yeah, the new
Uh,
90-watt.
yep, which we do have a power link in stock that has the BT standard.
Yeah. That
Yep.
thing probably eats power. So at 90 watts, how long?
So the goal was at least an hour of battery, and basic reports from the field are coming in still, but it's roughly about an hour and 10 minutes or so. But in all reality, most of the time they're plugging it in, turning the antenna a little bit, making sure it's there, and then turning it off. And then they're running the Cat 5 cable, and they'll do the upgrade once, or if they have not done the upgrade, they'll do the upgrade once it's online.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and those are specifically vetted for Tirana. But we do have the BT 48 volt 60 watts. We still have them in stock. We started with a few hundred of them, and they're going quickly. We also are going to have a BT plus, and that one's going to be basically the same innards, same board, same everything, different case. And it's going to be, I'm going to just use the word chunky.
So you might be able to go more than an hour and 15 minutes.
Probably like 8 hours.
8 hours.
That's what we're that's where we're hoping to be, but testing will tell. But
That would be way
the
more useful for doing tower work and like aligning backhauls.
well, I mean, these are for Tirana. So
Uh-huh.
again, they're typically for CPE work. I don't know what type of CPE would need 90 watts, or I'm sorry, 60 watts. But these are BT standard. It's just it has a big OS battery in it. So then the flip side of that is it literally takes like 5 hours to charge.
Yeah.
So and that's even using a high power high power supply and such. So
Yeah. I'm not surprised. Like you're gonna, yeah, that would eat up. God,
oh
that's a
yeah.
lot of lithium you're carrying around too.
Yeah, well, and so the difference, the BT, one of the things that we designed that one for, so one, the heat transfer from converting from the batteries to the 48 volt, that transformer gets hot.
Mhm.
Okay, on our current BT units, we actually have a fan that runs that keeps the heatsink cool. The BT Plus should have an internal fan with venting and a path through. So the goal is that you should be able to take that and literally be able to put that unit in a backpack while it's powered on, and it should be fine. So if not, it's going to burst into flames. But
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
hopefully
but I
there's a
mean,
little over temperature
yeah,
protection.
we do have some temperature protection in there, so it's not going to do that, but just as that example is we're still working on it, but the BT product is shipping as of today, which is Tuesday, the 22nd.
Slick.
So yeah.
Well, I presume that you guys will be at Wispapalooza.
Oh, of course, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have our sales team there to answer any questions and stuff like that. At Wisp America, we had a representative from Tower Coverage. She had a couple questions, but I don't think it was as productive as others. So that can happen. But so far it's shaping up. Keep in mind they are going to go to other shows too. Some of the Tribal Connect shows and stuff like that as well. So they get around a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be pretty crazy. Well, and with how the industry is going, it's WISPA is going to be more there's going to be all sorts of fiber stuff. Do you let's see, I'm certain Cambium's going to be showing off all of their new fiber fun toys, and Ubiquity's probably going to be showing. Everyone's hopeful they're going to have a 10 gig XGPON system. We'll see.
Well, I hate to sit there and say it. They need to either fix their existing one with the high temp issues, or maybe they can fix it in the XG stuff. But it's a big downer for a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, already I've seen pictures of Cambium's outdoor, and I actually held. I think I have pictures from the preview of WISPA of their outdoor ONT, and I love it that somebody is making a nice small size ONT. I love outdoor network interface devices that has the terminal there. PoE to power that sucker. WISPs have done it. We've done it for so long, and it makes more sense to me than running fiber inside of a building. Like, customers are just so hard on stuff. The more important stuff I can keep away from them, the better.
Yep.
My
totally
philosophy.
agree.
Although Ole Morten Sunderheim, our friend up in the northern parts of Europe, Norway, I want to say, but I'm probably just being a jerk. But he has to do indoor ONTs because they will have several feet of snow on the sides of people's houses for months at a time. And unless you want to dig out the ONT and the NID to do diagnostics, it's better to just do everything inside the house. And so that's not a bad consideration in that situation.
Right.
If you actually have that build up, it makes sense. It's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be a good show. Are you guys gonna have any fun events that you're putting on?
Not that I know of. To be honest with you, Wispapalooza is very expensive. It's Vegas. Everything's plus. Plus hotels fees, plus resort fees, plus tips, plus gratuities, plus anything else they want to tack on. So for so far in the history, we typically don't do anything in Vegas simply because of cost, and everybody's conscious of cost. Wisp America is a little different because it's usually a smaller venue, and usually we can barter with them a lot better than anybody else. But it happens. At this point in time, nothing planned. Get up early. Go to the show floor. Talk my butt off, lose my voice. Typically go to dinner and probably hit the bar until about 3 a.m. and then get up at 6 a.m. the next day and do it again.
Rinse and repeat.
Yeah. I remember one of the very first, not the very first Wispapaloozas, but one of the first Wispapaloozas in Vegas. Literally, I ate shrimp and lobster and steak all week. I did not have a voice at the end of the week. And I sat down at the bar and I'm like, I want a chicken sandwich, iced tea. And that I just want something plain and simple. If I could have ordered a grilled cheese, I probably would have. But yeah, I mean, that's I was so tired of eating all the I sit there and say, so tired of eating all the fancy foods, but you do get tired of it, and you do want something a little bit simpler sometimes.
Yeah, the taste of home really.
Mhm.
I've lived and worked away from home enough in my life that I can. There's definitely times where it's like all I want is something like whatever it is your what mom made. Just simple comfort food that is
Chick
absolutely
and,
the
and
simplest
and
stuff.
you know, one of the good ones was chicken noodle soup. We had the American Bistro at the Rio, and believe it or not, they made a dang good chicken noodle soup. And I actually tried it one night. I'm like, dude, that's actually really dang good. I was pleasantly surprised at the food, or that particular food anyway, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So
Well, two last questions, and maybe we'll start wrapping this up.
yeah, yeah.
I just saw this comment from somebody on Wistalk, and he's asking, one of his local competitors is wanting to get together and talk shop. And he's like, I've never talked to this guy before. Should I do this? And I'm like, yeah, go, man. Like, good relationships with your neighbors is going to make an infinite amount more sense than trying to go to war. Like, you going to war, yeah, you can win, but what damage, like what wreckage are you going to leave on the side of the road as you try to like just com- compete to death other people,
Right, right.
especially in this industry. Like, you never know when you're going to be out in the middle of nowhere and somebody can save your candy butt, and just because, like, hey, you know each other, you can help each other out. And honestly, to me, like, I have an advantage in that I have multiple people around me who I can talk shop with, and that makes my life a lot better. But uh like, but back at my old job, back in Colorado, I felt really lonely a lot of the time. Um, and like, just largely because like there was no one, I had all my friends and family around me, but like I couldn't talk shop with somebody who did the same job as me. And it was very difficult and hard. And I always recommended making friends with your local competitors, because worst case scenario, you just chat every once in a while and blow off steam on each other when an annoying customer or something. That's my
Uh,
personal opinion.
Yeah, well, from a strategy standpoint, one, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. So whether or not you like the person or not, it would be a sound mind to sit there and say, hey, yeah, let's get together. Maybe, we could go out and have a beer. You'd be very quiet, would be the correct term to, let him, you're not going to tell him any of your expansion plans. Obviously, you're not going to tell him anything that he could use against you. But, if you keep him close, all of a sudden there could be business opportunities. Hey, he says, hey, I actually have, this, four sites that, looks like you might have coverage on that I don't, but I would like to sell them off your network. So maybe you can come up with a wholesale plan. Okay. I've seen WISPs do that. I've also seen WISPs where they come back to the same data center, say, hey, not a problem. How about this? We'll get a cross connect between each other, and I will hand off a VLAN, and any of your customers, you can take them, you can give them your IPs, your everything. And that's a whole nother aspect of doing business. I actually think the perfect quote WISP is the one that actually sets up towers, high capacity APs, etc. It does the install and then gives the customer the option of which ISP that they want to use. So the WISP is just the middle mile, just the transit provider to the bandwidth. So now keep in mind that transit provider needs to be redundant, etc. And I think that's one thing people really overlook is there's a lot of tower sites that you just have a single backhaul going to it. There's no other way in or out, and that makes resiliency a very very big deal. We recently just passed up a job. This was probably I don't know, $250,000 job, because they did not want to put the necessary equipment in so that when something did happen, that literally everything would just continue to work. Have proper BGP, have proper upstreams, have proper, 2 core routers, 2 edge routers, etc., to have that proper connectivity to everybody, as well as redundancy. Because what they said was, well, we'll just call you if it happens. Well, if it's in the middle of the night, I don't want to be bothered. I mean, I don't, I know it's more money, but it's not that much more money, and it just doesn't make sense for me to burden our staff with phone calls in the middle of the night whenever we have a blank slate and all we have to do is design it correctly. Most people want to design it correctly, so this is it's an oddball thing, and it didn't work out, or it's not working out, so it happens.
Yeah. Well, and that's I totally understand not wanting to, like, I can't be, I already have a day job. I can't be somebody's emergency tech support when BGP is broken, and that's always a consideration when I'm like working with somebody. It's like,
Yeah.
Hey, I don't wake up at 3 a.m. to answer my phone. Like, I don't want to do that. I would like to sleep.
Yep.
It's very valuable to me.
Yeah. I like today, I got up at 4 a.m. because I had to go in because we had a cutover at 5. Everything went really well, as it should, but that's also one of those things. If you do proper planning and you have the proper design, the proper hardware in place, you shouldn't have these types of issues. And
Yeah.
also, even if you do have an issue, the network should be redundant enough.
Yeah. And building redundancy, it's expensive, it's painful, it's hard to conceptualize it and build it out, and there's a lot of things that you got to work around, but like once you do it, just makes life so much better.
Yep.
So here's the next one here. This was from John Fernandez. Ubiquity access point boots up, you can log into it, and but after 30-45 seconds of booting up and running, it just goes away. Can't log into it, can't get to it, won't respond to pings, nothing. Ethernet ports up, negotiates gig. He checked, he saw, well, the SNR on that's a little bit weak, so he replaced the ends. The SNR is a little bit better, replaced the whole cable, switched PoE ports, knows he's getting power, he checked all of that, replaced the access point, backup config, exact same problem.
What about without the backup config?
So I don't know if he tried to build the config from scratch, but my suspicion is that he has a bad client, that as soon as clients start connecting, and he did actually verify for me, is that he was pulled the backup config, and as long as it was running and he had the wrong password,
it would stay running.
Stay running for several minutes. But it was, as soon as he changed the passwords and clients started connecting, boom, gone. I'm like,
so the next step is to I don't know what Ubiquity calls it, but if it was a Microtech, what I would do is I would actually build an access list, and basically deny everybody, set the security code back, and then allow each individual client connection on. I would also debridge the unit so that basically it's only traffic across the AP, and that way, when you do get a client that connects and starts trying to what's probably happening is they probably have a client with a bridge loop or something like that, and it's probably just flooding the AP, and that's probably killing it. There's only so much CPU power that those things have, and again, make sure you turn on client isolation. That'd be another really good thing, because that should basically prevent that. But you should be able to sit there and look and see which clients are connecting and what their packet rate is, and fairly quickly determine which one's the problem client. Yeah. Or just simply turn each one back on, give them 5 minutes. If it's still running, turn the next customer back on. If it's still running, until when I turn it back on, it's not running. Okay, let's power cycle it, see if we can get back. Hopefully we can get back into it. As soon as we get back into it, we deny that client, and then we go to the next client.
Yep. At that, and I've seen that. It was only with M5 equipment, and John's entirely AC line, so I've never seen a bad client or something like that. But
It's like I said,
he's
it's
working
probably
right
it's
through it.
one. See, this is one of those things that, in my view, from again, I came from smart bridges back in 2001. Okay,
Yep.
air rate of 11 meg. Okay, if we could do 4 meg out of one, we were doing great. Okay, everything needed to be routed, and including the customer CPE. Now, I don't have a problem with a customer router that you control. Okay. I would much prefer the CPE to do it, because that eliminates anything that needs to get to the net should be routed at that point in time. And then the flip side of that is, we are not going to let the customer make that determination. Not saying that the customer can't. Most of the time, it's it's non-torturous interference. So it's just they're too stupid to know better. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
The customer, they're not intending to do it, but they do those types of things. And those types of things are the things that literally routing will fix by routing the CPE. And the fact that if people say let the CPE be a bridge, let it talk wirelessly. Well, that thing should have enough CPU power to move 100 megabit of traffic plus CPE, plus being a CPE. If it doesn't, then you're buying the wrong product or you're using the wrong tool. You know what I'm saying? That's my opinion. I very much disagree with the people that like to put in, the especially bridge networks, but you should have a tower router, and then you should route the CPE, because any of those packets, unless it is a truly bad CPE that's just blasting out stuff, which I have not seen before. So I don't know if
Yeah,
those
I
actually
know it
exist.
was because we swapped out we swapped it out for a new piece of equipment, and same config, everything, and it started working. And most of those had water in them, and so something was just shorting out and causing some sort of grief.
So you know what that probably still is?
Hmm.
Bridge loop probably still. It's
Yeah,
probably
traded it
across the transmit receive pair, and now you got a little loop going right inside there across the water.
right in the CP. In which case, well,
Yeah. Right. But I mean,
if it was
the
routed
different.
or not, it was.
Well, see, the difference is, if it's routed, it shouldn't even go up. It should just bring down the Ethernet side of it, but it shouldn't go out the wireless. It also could max the CPU on it, on the CPE, which is fine, because guess what? Now it's not going to be talking, so it's not going to be. The difference is, you should be protected from mass transmits from a CPE, individual CPE, because that's one thing that both AC and all those protocols lack, is any type of that transmit control process. The AP can control how much it can transmit to each client, but clients transmitting back, they either have to be told, or they'll transmit as much as they can as quickly as they can.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and that's the
again,
problem with 802.11.
Yeah. I would almost sit there and say, hey, let's change it to router mode, see if it fixes itself. The customer might not be able to get on, but maybe the AP could fix itself.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea, and just swap the CPE.
But obviously, in this case,
I
swapping the CPE
John,
is probably easier.
Yeah, I think John runs router mode on his CPs. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think he does.
No, I'm just saying.
I know he manages all of his customers' routers. So, but that was a fun little problem. I was chatting with John on my way home, and reason why he didn't show up tonight, because he's driving out to middle of nowhere to replace somebody's radio. Because I was like, oh, this is interesting. You haven't seen this before? I saw it like a couple times. It was really weird. I just blocked it, moved on, made life happen. So waited for the customer to call in to say that their internet was down, because I was too busy to reach out to them. Hey, your radio's taking down the network. Stop. We need to replace it.
Yeah.
But all right.
Totally get it, man. Totally get it.
All right. Well, thanks, Dennis, for joining me today, and I will Be seeing you soon. WISPA tickets are going to be getting more expensive, guys. Go ahead and buy them. Get your hotel room. Get your flights and everything booked.
Already done for my team.
All right. Well, catch you all later. And
methodology, so sit back and
bye.
start learning.
See you
Lighting
guys.
up the tower so people can start searching. Shooting up the web in neighborhoods, net surfing. We got horrible jokes, we're loud and annoying, but we're informative facts, we're not disappointing. Just give us a listen, cause fun is the mission. I'm telling you, you don't know what you are missing. Ideas and some good comedy given. If you missed the show already, don't worry, you're forgiven.